So the defense by Big Pharma is always, we spend so much money on research and development. Like you can't start pinching us on the profits because they go not only to just, our bottom line, but they are a reward for the billions in R&D that went into developing these drugs. And here's the numbers.
But they can still have their profits, Megyn. It's just that the subsidies for them will be more evenly distributed between countries and customers.
That's right. Okay, so here's what they say, that Novo Nordisk, they declined to provide production costs for Ozempic and its weight loss drug counterpart, Wegovy. But the Danish drug maker noted that it spent almost $5 billion on R&D last year and will spend more than $6 billion on a recent deal to boost manufacturing to meet the demand for these drugs. So they're crying that they have to manufacture. It's in such demand that they have to pay $6 billion to develop even more of it. No one's crying any tears for you over that. But they're crying about the $5 billion that it took to develop it. However, their profits for 2023 and 2024 equal, for 1 year, it's 1 year operating profit. I think it was either 2023 or 2024, was equivalent to $15 billion US dollars, their largest profit since 1989. So they profited in 1 year, $15 billion, largely off of that drug, and they want us to cry and pay $1,000 a month because it cost them $5 billion to develop it. It all has to fall on the Americans, and we're supposed to feel sorry for the drug company that's only going to net, $8 billion instead of $15 billion if they charge us a fair price versus everybody else?
Listen, I don't understand why they're still paying development costs and research costs on a drug that they've already developed, and frankly, which is a rather simple substance compound. And as far as manufacturing and gearing up to make more of it because of overwhelming demand. Well, what other industry tells you that in order for us to gear up to meet the demand, we need crazy, almost unlimited ability to charge you? If Ford had a hit car and it said, we've got to build new factories to turn out the number of cars that people want to buy, and we've got to keep those prices really high in order to do that. That's the opposite of what I just heard. Isn't there something called economies of scale? The more you sell, the cheaper,
right.
And the more you have to make, the cheaper it is to manufacture each unit.
Yes. So here's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya talking about how they're not anti-drug company. They understand it's an important industry in the United States and to the American people. And he runs NIH. Here's what he had to say.
What we're going to do is make sure that those prices become much closer to equal, like a competitive market you'd expect. Right now, what's happening is the American people are subsidizing in large fraction the research and development efforts for drug companies around the world by the higher prices that we pay. With this new order, Europe will share the burden of that. And in fact, if you may think of it as somehow it's going after drug companies, actually it's helping drug companies. Because what we're also going to do with this order, what President Trump has done with this order, is he's said to European governments, look, if you are taking advantage of the drug companies by forcing them to charge very, very low prices, we're going to defend American drug companies.
And that, I think, Walter, is why the pharma stocks went up after Trump's presser. Dr. Bhattacharya explained that, and Trump explained it too, which was if these foreign countries continue, that can afford these drugs at a higher level, continue to act like they're paupers and not pay at least the American drug companies a fair price for the drugs, then I don't know what Trump's going to do. Tariff them? He's going to do something to try to exact a penalty on these countries that have deep pockets but have been grifting off of us for too long. And that's why I was watching CNBC this morning, something I very rarely do. And the big pharma stocks were down. Then Trump held his presser, and immediately they all started to climb because I think they heard that there is some measure of comfort being built in there, at least for the American big pharma companies.
Let me launch a rather elaborate metaphor, but a colorful one. The United States is like a member of a family who hits it big in Hollywood, and they suddenly become rich, and they have a big house, and money coming in, and all of a sudden, all the relatives say, "Hey, man, could you help me with my car payment? Hey, my son just got sick. Can you help with his hospital bills?" And then after a while, that arrangement becomes institutionalized. Meanwhile, all the greedy relatives are doing quite well, but they decide we have to cry poor in order to keep living off, our movie star cousin. Yes. At this point, the movie star is about to lose his mansion. He's mortgaged it 10 times, and he's got problems of his own. And it's time for the rest of the family to step up. If we go down to paying $400 per dose and they go up from $90 to paying $400, the pharmaceutical company actually hasn't lost. It can go do its precious development and research all day long. But what's happened is that there is once again some sort of fairness in the family.
I love that. That is so good. I've got it. I love analogies. They help me understand. Here's Trump trying to explain the weight loss drug disparity, because that one's just so obvious, and in a way that only Trump can. Take a listen to SOT 1.
I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. So, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Only Trump. Only Trump, Walter.
Is he going to go on Broadway after he finishes his presidency? Because I saw Jackie Mason on Broadway back when, and he had nothing on Trump. This storytelling side of him is really effective. Just like I just tried to use a colorful story to explain things. Trump, from no tax on tips to other policies, often seems to come to his brilliant, uncontroversial, outrageous ideas by talking to people who are affected by the policies.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. What a revolutionary way to do politics and to, research policy, not go through a $10 billion think tank, but ask the waitress, if she gets taxed too much on her tips.
That's right. Or ask his very fat friend who's on the fat drug, the fat shot. He's on the fat shot.
What I love is that embedded in that, Megyn, is he took a shot at the drug itself. He said, it's not working.
It's not working. It's so amazing. So here's the other thing. Now, it's going to be very interesting this week to see how this plays out, because this is not one of those things that the sides are going to immediately know, the sides that don't think for themselves, how to handle it, right? It's like, normally it's like, well, the Republicans are against, quote, price controls, which Trump denies that that's what this is. And so they would normally bash somebody in this position. They would definitely bash a Bernie Sanders type, but it's Trump. So what are they going to do? And then the Democrats would normally be in favor of something. Like Bernie Sanders, how will he go over to the White House? Will he say, I applaud him and I applaud this? Or will his TDS win out where he just can't support this because it was suggested by Trump? And same for the media, right? The media should like this because they're left-leaning. They should want something like this. But not only is it Trump, but they are controlled by Big Pharma. That's who's paying all of their $1 million salaries. I'll just give you one example. Who could forget Stephen Colbert during the COVID nightmare with this little bit on his show? He's dancing with people dressed like the shot. And tons of little cartoon shots. And a graphic that reads, the Vax, V-A-X, Scene, S-C-E-N-E. And he's dancing with them. Oh my God, okay, I've seen enough. And he should be dancing, because they made him a very rich man.
That's a cross between Cabaret and the Hunger Games, what we just saw there. That is truly a man singing for his supper, and his supper is provided by Pfizer.
This July, there's a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. The bloc of emerging superpowers, or so they hope to be, including China, Russia, India, and Iran, are meeting with the goal of displacing the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling it the Rio Reset. As BRICS nations push forward with their plans, some worry global demand for U.S. dollars could decrease, bringing down the value of those dollars that are in your savings. While this transition, if it happens, will not happen overnight, the Rio Reset could mark a pivotal moment. So learn if diversifying your savings into gold is right for you. Birch Gold Group can help you move your hard-earned savings into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting MK to 989898. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands, tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on owning gold before July and the Rio Reset. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.